pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First issue is we are amending the agenda. Looking for a motion? No. Need a motion. Okay. Any discussion? Sir?
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I was not on. When I have my mask on, I gotta get close. I'm in the agenda to include a request from Ridge Fire Company for fire police support. Feel free to remind them.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Moving on. I just want to announce that there was an executive session on July 29, 2022 to discuss potential litigation. Right now, we'll move on to approve the minutes for June 27, 2022.
I make the motion. I make the motion to approve the minutes of June 27th, and I just put July 18th and August 1st in there for just.
I thought we had to review that individually.
Okay, well, I'll stop with the period after June 27th, 2022.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Now looking to approve the minutes for July 18.
Okay, I will make that motion. And I'll second that.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. And next to approve the minutes for August 1st of 2020.
I make the motion to approve the minutes of August 1st, 2022. I will second that.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Next, we received correspondence from the French and Pickling Creeks Conservation Trust for township support for the French Creek Iron Tour. So that was the thank you note of that. Okay, moving on. Reports. Police report. Sergeant.
Police report for July 2022. For training, we have police supervisory in-service training, firearms training. Some totals are number of calls for service, 216, number of crimes investigated, 9, number of arrests, 1. That's for simple assault, harassment, and serious conduct. Number of accidents investigated, 12. That's all.
Sergeant Rickles, are there any of them out of bounds of what we normally see?
What's that?
The numbers you just gave us, I mean, are they kind of within normal limits of what we normally see?
Accidents are a little bit higher.
And any thought on that?
Not really. I don't know if it's just because it's summertime. We've had a higher number of accidents. I think 100. We usually do. Some of them weren't that bad to fatal accident. So, we're doing more traffic enforcement.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Next, the bill. So, oh, I'm sorry. No, yeah, sure.
Sergeant Russell.
Come on.
Wendy Valentine, Justice Services Officer. I just wanted to know how it compares with this year with last year, the year before, just generally speaking.
What compares with?
Just the incidence of crime.
So what you can do is you can call us during business hours. You can request stuff like that, and what will happen is our administrative assistant might be able to put something together for you.
Could you just generally speak about the trends?
You have to be more specific. I'm not really sure what you're looking for here. I'm trying to see numbers are higher than last year. Yeah, I would have to
bring that with you just so we can kind of cover
Yeah,
a
I'll
little bit.
talk to the chief about this tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, moving on to bills list.
I make the motion to approve the bills list in the amount of $394,351.72.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Treasurer's report.
Mr. Chairman, for the month of July, the new balances are the ARPA funds, which are the federal funds, $310,062.43. Capital equipment, $538,375.86. Capital reserve, capital project reserve, $2,426,263.92. Capital road, $4,838,925.20. General fund, $2,331,194.75. Liquid fuels, $355,712.89. Open space, $2,626,388.69. The rebill is $194,322.24. And sewer, $137,295.57, for a total balance of $13,758,541.55.
Thank you. Any discussion?
John Eldridge, 1634 Hilltop Road. I'm going to give my supplemental. The July actual in the general fund had a negative balance of $395,000. Most of it, I think, was the result of strange bookkeeping corrections or errors.
That is not correct.
What?
It is not correct.
Which is not correct.
The reason why the negative fund balance for the month. This is not a business where you have X number of dollars coming in every month. We received the real estate taxes at 92% collected through the first quarter, first half of the year. Almost all our money is coming in. We've collected about 75% of the revenue, and we've expended about 54% of our expenses. There will be months from here on out where expenses will exceed revenue. It's not a trickery, John. It's actual fact.
Okay, I didn't know I mentioned trickery, but anyway,
You did.
in actual fact, under real estate tax, they had a minus $186,000.
That was a misposting of the June real estate transfer tax. It was posted to the real estate tax as opposed to the transfer tax. The money was an extraordinary amount of money. It was, as I reported to the board at the time, the transfer tax related to the sale of the town center property. It was $185,000.
Okay, so what you're saying is the transfer tax of $274,000 is, there's a transition between real estate tax and transfer tax?
No, I'm saying the deed transfer tax was misposted to the real estate tax. The misposting was determined, was found, it was corrected by taking the money out of the real estate tax revenue stream and putting it into deed transfer tax where it properly belonged.
Okay. Okay, so those were misposting corrections.
That's correct.
And then, the next two lines, I guess, the fine and forfeitures and, interest and royalties are both negative in the income section for some reason. I don't understand. And then there's, now that we have the funds, there's a disbursement out of the general fund, $210,000 that supposedly went to the capital equipment fund. But it didn't show up in the capital equipment fund for some reason, because the way
So the real truth is there was $395,000 loss showing up in the month of July from all these adjustments and things that happened. And partly what goes on when you have a lot of funds, which I don't know why we do, moving money from the general fund to another fund makes it look like a loss in the general fund, but it's not really. That money probably was excluded from what Mr. Granger mentioned because it has not appeared in any other fund. So that $210,000 is just a limbo. That wasn't a question.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, moving on. Manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, month of July was pretty much focused on the road program. The contractor is now complete with the Kimmerton Road storm drainage project and doing punch list letters now. The contractor started on the Kimmerton Road, Fellowship Road Bridge project. The road has been closed for about a week. The work should take about another 2 weeks. We've been internally on the conceptual plan for Overline Park that is currently being redrawn and has been sent to the Parks Committee for their review comments. And to that, all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Any comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to old business. Authorize the township to conduct a safety study on the Horseshoe Trail.
I make the motion to authorize the township to conduct a safety study on Horseshoe Trail.
Any discussion?
Yes, I would like John to discuss the cost. It seems exorbitant, and I don't think we're going to get a result that is worth the price.
Madam Mr. Chair, the board had asked for 2 items on the Horseshoe Trail map. One was a speed study, which the police department conducted, and the results have been shared with the board. On both segments of the road, the 85th percentile is at either 38 or 40 miles per hour. The speed limit is posted at 35. The average speed is about 30 to 33 miles an hour. The board also asked for a proposal for a safety study. Asked the township engineer to provide that. His proposal is $9,000 some dollars. So if you understand, and Mr. Latchell's here if you want to ask particulars about it, because it's his work.
No, actually, I'm sorry, the chief isn't here because I'd like to know if there's any expectation, since the speed study indicated there was no reason to change the speed. Why would we expect it to be different if we put another $9,500 into it?
Well, that's why I said not to do a speed study, because a speed study on.
I'm not, yes, you know, I'm an old timer. We've had valid speed studies done by our police. When we did this previously and asked for a safety study after a speed study, I said, well, we shouldn't waste our police time, but this is one. I believe the manager and the chief decided to do it, so that's what we empower them to do. But this, I don't think, is going to come up with anything. Last time this came up, I asked that it be tabled until we found out if PennDOT would change the speed on the stretch of Birch Run Road / Horseshoe Trail. That is a PennDOT road. And so I'm still in that position. So one, let's see what PennDOT says first, and 2, this is an awful lot of money for something I think will not yield a difference in the speed limit.
Back a little bit, it's
I'm trying to get my voice to the end.
I have a question. Is this one?
Yes.
Julia Brindle, 2472 Florence Ridge Road. Why is it even coming up that somebody wants a speed study on Horse Trail? Is someone complaining that people are driving too fast, or have there been a lot of accidents there? I mean, is there a problem?
Yeah,
Why-
there have been accidents.
Where?
On Horseshoe Trail,
What part?
I don't know.
Okay.
And the other thing is that it's pretty heavily used by a lot of walkers, and there are curves that are unmanageable at 35. You really should be looking at 20, 25. And there is no side of the road that you can walk on. There's no grass areas on most of it, so people walk at their peril, and it's something we should consider. If somebody were to be killed on that road, that would be on us. So we really need to look at this conservatively.
Well, I mean, I think the issue is more, Ken, did you say, what's the speed limit on the road?
35.
It's 35. He's saying, Ken is saying, he's saying 30.
30.
Yeah, so, I mean,
It's
the.
25 throughout the entirety for our stretch here in
But then, can I just say that when this first came up, I actually asked that we table it because I thought it was ridiculous to do a speed study.
Mhm.
The speed study wasn't gonna make any difference, but I thought that we needed a safety study to see if there were areas that had line curves, or a certain amount of walkers or pedestrians or bikers, which we do, and that posed an issue. So if there was any concern of that at all, I thought that made more sense to do a safety study than a speed study. I didn't think we needed that one.
Okay, so that would
my opinion.
cost us very much to put up a recording device. And we'll ask Ed to address this, but there are walkers and horsers and bikers and other cars on every road in the township. The people who live on South Chester Springs Road thinks it has more foot traffic than any place else. If you ask the police department, as I did, they said they would have suggested it was Hollywood Road between Horseshoe Trail and Trundle. I can personally tell you that there are walkers, horses, dogs, bikes on Davis Lane every day. So we have to worry about the safety of our roads, but we can't call out one place as having more special pedestrians. So Ed, could you tell me what you expect? Will we get something lower than 30 by doing this study?
I don't know if the speed is the goal either.
Well, if
that's
there
question.
there was a request for a speed reduction on this road.
That's true.
And if you want a study done, what are you expecting if not a speed reduction?
Because I'm looking here and it mentions things that could get involved with site distances and warning signs and, as well as speed limits and safety improvement. So I don't know what that means, but maybe Ed can tell us.
Yeah, I was asked to provide a proposal. It's a not to exceed price, so as always, we only invoice for what it takes. The scope of work, as you're hearing tonight, is a little bit, I'll say, ambiguous. It could be certain items, or it could be a lot of items, ranging from speed to pedestrian to spot locations along the road. So I don't know the answer until we do the study. I mean, I don't know that whether or not the speed could be expected to be lower or not. I think you have a good indication from the police work that's been done already. So you do have a little bit of an advanced input there into whatever areas they studied. What we look at would be the vertical grade of the road, the horizontal grade of the road, the intersections, the drainage. So you start looking at all those factors. And as we did on Beaver Hill Road, you would do the running speed to meet the PennDOT local road standards and, analyze it for the different, you break it up into sections and do the running speed on those sections. The township's looking for signage to address, sharp curves or areas with poor sight distance. I mean, that's a second issue. There's a whole multitude of things. It's 3.5 miles long. So it's from one end of the township to the other. So it's a very long section of road that I was asked to propose on, PennDOT has a little bit of a section in the center. So,
So the scope has changed because originally Ken came in 2 or 3 or 4 times asking for a speed limit change on Horseshoe Trail. You didn't ask for the study, you just wanted us to reduce the speed limit, correct? So that was what we first talked about, and we tabled it in hopes that we would get an answer from PennDOT. One of the things Ken had pointed out before, like he just said, we're surrounded by it, so what he means is West Pikeland and East Navient have 25 miles an hour. We have 30, but we also have 3,000 feet of PennDOT in the middle of that. So I think, yeah, we lower ours, and then you still would criticize that we have this thing in the middle. So I don't think worrying about what is on either end, both of the places that those roads transition are easy transition. I just, so are we expanding the scope to evaluate signage and drainage? And this road's been paved in 18 and 19 or something like that. I don't think we're going to want to tear it all up.
Isn't that what's in the scope of this that I'm reading here?
Well,
Read the scope of this?
I'm saying that this is not the scope that we were talking about before. We were talking before about Ken's request to lower the speed limit. And the chief gave us data on that, which is right here.
Let me jump in here. Ed, with what we know now already from the speed study, what is your sense that we could convince PennDOT to bring ours down to, let's say, 25?
I don't think you're going to convince PennDOT to do anything that you want. I think they will do what they believe is, meets their criteria for their section of the road. I don't think you can, if they have their team go out and analyze their section, they have findings. If you want their findings, whatever the number may be, if you want it increased or decreased, they're just not going to do it to accommodate the township.
Okay. And if we were to request a map, take a look, how long do you think their work for their scope would take?
I can't speak for PennDOT. They're typically slow, in my opinion. So I think, I would contact the municipal services rep for this area and the county permit supervisor, and then see what they say. They may not even entertain it. If they have done something recent, or I can't speak for PennDOT. With these times and the staffing and everything, it's just.
Yeah, certainly, I know Chief has been working on getting them out on some other areas that are super dangerous.
Yeah, no,
I'm going to take the president.
Right. I talked to the chief. I asked him, what should this scope that we proposed include? And basically it was from West Pikeland to East Nantmeal, except for the PennDOT section in between. And you have straightaways where speed limits are. You have curves that might need, warning signs that reduce the speed just for a curve or sight distance or local circumstances. And then, you throw in, you want it to be safe for walkers or for bikers. All these things were mentioned. So the scope is long and all-inclusive is what he reported to me. So that's why the proposal that you see is pretty general in nature, and
And that's part of what's driven the cost.
Yeah,
Because you don't know what all you're going to.
exactly.
Because you don't know what all you're going to encounter and what you're, since it's a not to exceed, you may be fine halfway there, but if you look at all these things, and I don't recommend you do a pedestrian count. Pedestrians, traffic, bicycle traffic.
Yeah. I would not do a thing until I got specific direction again from the manager once he's advised, so
Well, here he comes.
Well, we're not going to decide this one.
I know, but John might have some insight into, Bernie's question was, if we asked PennDOT to look at road, how long will it take them to get out here? Is that accurate?
Okay.
I have another, just another question, we're on this little subject here. First of all, I think that it doesn't matter what you do with that stretch of PennDOT road, because if they don't fix potholes, nobody's gonna drive that fast, so it really doesn't make any difference. What is the speed limit on all of our township secondary roads? I mean, is it,
Most are 35.
most are 35?
Most are different.
Right.
And that is a reason, because I mean, there are some, you're, for suicide,
Well, sure.
you can do 25.
Well, sure. I mean, I live on Coral Springs, so I know that some of the corners are really bad. So why, I think when it comes to speed limits and how fast everybody's gonna drive and whether everybody's going speed limit, I think what becomes the biggest issue is when it's 25 here, it's 30, and if there's a section that's 30 and it's 35 here, I think it's confusing for everybody, and really what it comes down to is enforcement and making sure that people aren't speeding on those roads. But
Well, that is something that the chief recommended and has been doing, has been increasing the presence on this road. And that was one of the questions that was posed to us, is it better to just continue it that way versus do a study? Now, you know, $9,500 sounds like a lot of money. Is it a lot of money if they come up with some little solution that would save somebody's life? I mean, it's not.
so Horseshoe Trail is, as far as all of our secondary roads, that is the dangerous one in the township, or is that just the one that somebody brought attention to?
I think we have several that are dangerous.
Right.
And it's
And
a
we're
shame
pretty
that we
much-
all have, you know, you have to pick the favorite and bring it up. It'd be nice if we could
Take speed limits.
Do
them all.
Come over to Floyd Springs.
Come over to Shady Lane,
No,
now that that's paved, and
it's more fun.
that's good stuff.
That's good.
No,
there's always horses on that road
no,
too.
please wait, before you, we did reduce the speed on Shady Lane, I think to 15 a year or two ago, so. Let's not put down things.
Barry?
Very deliberate, 10-12 class 10 like Chester Springs. 5 miles an hour isn't gonna make any difference. $9,500 is a lot of money, I think, to spend on it, when enforcement is really the issue. You know, raise it 5 years for committing some crime, and an anointing criminal looks at it and goes, oh, now that's 5 years more. I'm not gonna do that crime. It's enforcement. If you're gonna get caught, if you're paying for it, it's gonna stop. Get some guys out here, have them parked out there instead of parking in the office. Have it done that way. Gotta do a speed study. How many you catch? How much does it slow down? See what the accidents do. Don't spend the $9,500 yet. Check it out, see what's gonna happen. All those signs that you're gonna put up and bends, I think they're great and they're important. And Europeans take a different tact on it. Hey, if you go off, there's no guardrail, sorry. Not saying guardrails that the Europeans are right about a whole lot of things, but I kind of agree with you, it's your own responsibility. But those signs are really cautionary signs. You're not forced to do 15 in your turn. You can use speed limit in your turn. So I would highly recommend that the police get out there and tuck in some driveways. And once it gets out, the police are sitting out there, it's going to slow down, and then you see what's going to happen. But people are not going to necessarily do any difference between 25 and 30. It's just not going to do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll be interested, I'm sure you may already know that we got a lot of complaints about the speed on Lexington Boulevard. So she started monitoring, and every person they stopped was a Weatherstone resident.
Yeah, it's funny how people speeding around neighborhoods and yelling at people that run through there.
Wendy Battlefield, 96 St. Matthews Road. I just was wondering about more, like share the road signs and trying to develop a culture of how to share the road with horses, with bikers, with walkers. Maybe just signs with pictures of what's happening, maybe pamphlets that we put out at businesses, and just what are the rules and etiquette of sharing the road with each other to keep everyone safe. And because I don't know that it's a culture exactly, but I think it would be nice if we would progress and have that as part of our culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
We have this.
And Helen?
of lowering the speed limit is an idea. It's not the end all be all with it. I walk that road, and I walk pretty much every single road in this township as much as I possibly can. And I just find that out of all of the roads and the empirical data that I collect in traversing the township from one end to the other, is that's the one that's just so dangerous. And I don't want it to be. And I don't want the township to spend almost $10,000 on a safety study. I don't want our money to go to anything like that. But I don't want anyone to get hurt. And I'm really concerned. I know there's been accidents. I came forward long before anything happened to me. But later on, it happened to me. I was in a straight race for 3 months because of the horseshoe trail right by the Miller's farm, and it all had to do with speed and me jumping out of the way. And it was a real perilous situation for me for quite a while, and it didn't have to happen if two cars weren't converging going, I don't know how fast they were going. There's different sections that are really bad, and there's other sections, like I believe the PennDOT section, which isn't too bad, it's more of a straightaway, curvy. Ed, you are more than welcome to park in front of Ivy Lane and just hang out there for a good part of the day and just to see how treacherous it is. And I'm not speaking as just a resident, I'm speaking for the rest of the residents and the Amazon drivers and everyone else. We've got to rush and roulette in and out of there and dodge cars that are doing upwards of 50, 60 miles an hour going down the hill, going up the hill. I called Chief not too long ago for a driver who he ended up identifying and speaking to, who was starting down to St. Matthews and hitting the gas pedal and revving up to God knows how fast. And then when he crosses our lane, we just all lucked out that no one ever got hit from the side. Chief grabbed him. But it's just a really bad stretch of road. And again, I agree with all of you. I think that if it's police presence, maybe that's the solution to it. I don't want monies to have to go to something like that, but man, I don't want to see anyone else get hurt or worse on a road that's just way too fast. And again, the connecting roads, the whole entirety of the road, except for Horseshoe Trail, is 25 miles an hour. And you get here, it's 30. And I see those trucks. I see all the delivery drivers coming this way and coming this way each and every day during the week, and they fly through here because they can. And the mental perception, I believe, is if it's 30, then you can do 40 or 45. So if we lower it by 5 miles an hour, then we're lowering the top end speeds, hopefully by 5 miles an hour. So thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Anyone else? My final thought on the matter is that I think we need to discuss this a little bit further. There's a lot of information that I've learned tonight that I didn't have before, and I do wholeheartedly agree that we need to be more involved. So with that, all in favor?
Of tabling it,
Okay, yeah.
or,
Well,
what do you think? We have a motion to approve it.
we have a motion to approve it, so
Okay,
now we're up for the vote.
Okay, do the all in favor.
All in favor? No, no, no. Approving.
Okay, if you gentlemen have all opposed, I would say me, and then Dana would know what we're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
I said no.
So all in favor? All opposed?
Me.
Aye. Okay, so we'll pass.
You have to give me a tell I was good. So I could handshake. Okay.
I'm agreeing.
Okay.
We can hear
Oh, it's unanimous. Okay.
Everybody vote that.
Want to make sure Hannah knows
Let
that.
me just state, I think we need to talk more about this. And, I like what Wendy was saying about the signage, which we've talked about many times before, showing people how you yield to a horse and, how that works. And, because we have way too many horses and riders and everything on the road, and people need to understand what the priorities are there. So I do think that's a great idea. And I also want to say that while there may not be tons of police reports of accidents there, I know a lot of accidents that are not reported, including his. Because most people just get injured and they don't call the police and complain about it. They just get injured. I think that's a consideration.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on, new business. Accept liquid fuels audit and authorize the transfer of the $74.
David, is this okay?
I don't know why you're getting a terrible feedback. They might be too close to each other.
Okay. I make the motion to accept the liquid fuels audit and transfer $74,044.08 plus interest from the road capital fund to the liquid fuels fund once the state directs payment to be made.
I would second that.
John, would you just please give a short explanation?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Liquid fuels is the receipts the township gets from gas tanks. Every year, it has to be spent on roads or road-related stuff, highway equipment. Typically, there's two venues you can do. One is a maintenance expense to charge you any treatment on a road that is less than 1 inch is determined by PennDOT to be a maintenance item and does not need to be what quote a project. Before I got here, they decided to do a project. The project has a budget, and the budget says this is how much the project would cost, this is how much comes out of liquid fuels, and this is how much comes out of general fund, and there's never a change. The project was a couple $100,000 more. I don't understand what happened here. Whether the project paperwork was filled out incorrectly to begin with or not. Anyway, the project came in at $74,000 more than the liquid fuels approved budget was. The project cost was for, and the auditor found it and he said pay it back. Because the township has a road capital fund, I'm recommending that the money be transferred from that fund into the liquid fuels fund. The monies, both funds are for road projects, so you're not impacting anything. This is a testament why I never do projects for PennDOT with liquid fuels money. I always do maintenance, so you don't run into these issues in terms of managing the paperwork. This just happened before I got here, and that's just one of the things you learn as you go through your career.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Okay, next, authorize public hearing for the purchase of TDRs from tax parcel 25-10-41.
Okay, I make the motion to set a meeting date for September 6, 2022 at 7 p.m. to hold a public hearing on the purchase of 3 TDRs from Annie Ewing at the parcel number he just gave you.
And I would second that.
Any discussion?
Mr.
If you are going to clarify the parcel, then that's my question.
Yeah,
Which
2510-4-1.
location, sorry.
It's on the Ewing track.
Eagle Farms Road.
Eagles Farm Road.
Right.
The township and Ms. Ewing have agreed on this transaction. Ms. Ewing has a real estate transaction to sell the property prior to the next September board meeting. Therefore, the transaction needs to be approved and closed prior to her sale. That's why it's being done at the public hearings having on the day after Labor Day.
Will there be any other business at that meeting or just the hearing for the TDRs?
Well, the board will approve the necessary documents and authorize proper officers to execute on the payment.
Okay, but it will just be related to that.
That's all we're doing right now.
okay.
Something else.
So, my thought is that we could, let's do this for now, then we'll move on. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, I'm sorry. One at a time.
I'd like you to come often that we know your name now.
Don't go with my last name. But I'll pronounce it multiple times a day. 9:16 after
Thank you.
Just a clarification question. How many TRDs and what dollar amount are we talking about? Because it sounds like it's one meeting that it will be reviewed and it will be decided.
It's 3 TDRs and the value is $32,000 per TDR.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, authorize advertisement of ordinance amending the human relations ordinance. I move to table this. Till the September 6th meeting, we'll have an open discussion so that the human relations commission can voice all their opinions and we can discuss further.
All right, so your second motion tabling, I would like to, say I believe this ordinance was sent out in June with the request that it be addressed at the June meeting, or just missed the June meeting, but the July meeting, we want the comments. And then John extended it until the 10th of August. Why do you need more time?
Good evening, I'm Julie Foster, I'm the Vice Chair of the Human Relations Commission, as a Austin. Kindly take the evening. There are no other members of the Human Relations here tonight. Unfortunately, we didn't know that this ordinance proposal was on the agenda for tonight's meeting. We just found out at 4 a.m. this morning. And the reason the Human Relations Commission requested an opportunity to have open conversation with the Board of Supervisors and the Township Solicitor is because the Commissioners have a number of questions as to the purpose of the ordinance and had also submitted ordinance revision proposal for the Board of Supervisors to consider. So we would be very grateful for the opportunity to have a full public discussion and the opportunity to have questions and comments during the dialogue. The commission did submit a written statement regarding the proposal,
But that was after August 2nd.
but would prefer to have a discussion and dialogue to resolve something as opposed to sending a written statement in opposition.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brian? Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed it. What is the change?
The change is that we're not going to address it tonight. We're going to have a meeting on September 6th, and then we're going to have an open discussion.
So you want to discuss what the change is that's proposed?
Correct, we're taking it off the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I still would like to discuss taking up the agenda. We are not passing it, we are agreeing to advertise it. We can promise you this commission a complete ordinance for 12 months. And so I just hate to see us delay it further. So if we advertise it and they come back with just minor changes, Mark will tell us we can do those tweaks even if we advertise it. If it's a complete do-over, then we'll have to advertise it again. But since what we've given them to review, I don't believe you discussed it at your last meeting. You discussed the, what I missed it because of the clean energy stakeholder meeting. But what I thought actually was that you spent your time talking on your red line copy and not the one that John had sent you to review.
We discussed both. So,
So you did have feedback on the one John asked you to have feedback, right, last week.
yes.
You chose not to do that.
The proposal, actually, I have a question, I saw that it's on the agenda, but actually, I don't know if a copy has been circulated of the for everyone to know what it is. It's essentially to repeal certain sections of the human relations ordinance, which is the township anti-discrimination ordinance that would repeal the enforcement provision. So it would effectively end any complaint of discrimination at an optional mediation stage of the process. The Human Relations Commission did meet in July and discussed that proposal. There were a number of questions regarding it. We had requested the Board of Supervisors attend that meeting with the township solicitor so we could pose those questions. We did not have that opportunity and then sent a memo dated August 3rd, 2022 to the township manager and Board of Supervisors requesting a meeting as is proposed to have this conversation and kind of talk through the concerns of changes. No, we did not receive a response. The second request was for an extension of the August 10th deadline to submit written comment in order to have those questions addressed prior to making a statement. This morning, since
I didn't see the one that the request for extension. I saw John telling me that we had definitely, that John said that it was decided last year.
Did bring a copy. And then this morning, when we learned of this was August 3rd one. And then this morning, we learned of the agenda item to have a vote on the ordinance. We did send a memorandum in opposition of the proposal. We're concerned that there is no way to enforce the law if these provisions are repealed. That said, I think this is my personal opinion, but based on my understanding from the other commissioners and I speak as well, it'd be preferential to have a conversation with everyone about the purpose of it, how we enforce it, all of the requested changes to come up with a solution instead of saying yes, we oppose it, we support it, and no, we oppose it.
So I have to say, I'm not for tabling it because I disagree with it, what it's changed to. I'm simply saying that we need to table it because there's not been sufficient discussion and feedback back to the committee that's worked very hard on this. And I just don't think it should be approved without a full discussion.
Thank
I think
you.
you need the opportunity to, to say what you want to say about it. And that's my feeling on it. I decided one way to.
So what you said in the outfront was that there was no punitive part of this. Is that what, no enforcement, no, that's what you're missing?
I mean, I can read the memo.
No,
Well, so
not
it
that
goes.
I'm just making my notes and I wrote no enforcement, no, I'm not sure that's the right word.
The word that we use in the memorandum is enforcement. So the
That's
provisions that are
all
proposed to
right.
be removed are sections B through N of the Human Relations Ordinance, which provides for expanded procedures. So the Board of Supervisors would still have to vote to enact them if there was a complaint that couldn't be resolved with mediation. The proposed changes would just end all complaints with a dismissal, regardless of whether or not mediation happened or was successful. So, again, I don't want to waste everyone's time with this if we're going to have this whole conversation, but I think especially helpful would not just be here from the commission, but from everyone in the community about, we just passed this law less than 2 years ago, and I think that's a big question, why is there a need to repeal sections of it? And also, again, we respectfully request to consider the proposed changes that the commission submitted. Our intention, we spent 2 months working on these revisions, and the intention is to clarify the definitions, the jurisdiction, the timelines, and responsibilities for responding to complaints.
I look forward to talking about it on September 6th.
And I'm sorry. Any other questions?
Thanks. Barry, did you have something for
No,
on this?
I'm good, I don't need to.
Okay. At this point, anyone else? Hans, Richard?
Once by the way, 916 Matthews Road. Sorry, I sent this comes out to the September 6th meeting.
Yes.
Where in the meantime can we look up the current, the proposed committee, hard to find on the website? Just try it and get there.
I'm pretty ordinances on the human relations page. It's like, but there's a human relations part of the website. But Kathy,
But that includes both.
I'm trying to verify. Kathy, is the revised one, the one that we were voting on tonight, is it up?
I don't know,
Well, I have to check.
but I have to check with Maria.
It's usually not put up until the board is resolved to consider it. So
But it sounds like it's being discussed in that committee somewhere. So it sounds like it's already
I think
for the
John.
public to see the draft.
John has his hand up.
Your package, but not the agenda.
I believe that all the documents related to tonight's agenda were posted to the web. If they weren't, I'm going to yell at somebody tomorrow. And that would include the proposed ordinance that the board would consider for the site meeting. And they will be all posted. The draft from the Human Relations Commission as well as the proposed ordinance that the board might want to consider will both be posted as agenda items for that meeting on the Friday before the meeting.
Yep, I'll
Okay.
see what I can get through the main supplement.
All right.
It's a 3-day weekend, you'll be okay.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
Hi, Robin Austin, 2735 Conestoga Road. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors. You approved my membership to the committee last month. I also want to thank you for extending this to a discussion because as a new member, I must say it's been challenging to catch up with this. And we as a committee, as Julie did indicate, we have several questions. And basically, I think this is a good move. So I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none? All in favor? Aye. Nays? One nay. 2 ayes, 1 abstention. Thank you, everyone. Okay.
Number 9.
Acknowledgements.
You can do it. You don't need a second.
Okay, so we're going to acknowledge receipt of zoning hearing board application for James Trollier at 16 Huntville Road in Spring City, PA. Number 1, approve the Bridge Fire Company request for the fire police support.
Yeah. Yeah, I have it. I have a copy here. I have to sign it and then you sign it.
Okay, discussion, Barry?
You skipped over me on number 8, number 9. What is the application for? Great, thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's no problem, no big deal.
I didn't have to show up.
Yeah, no, I
You're
just.
part of the team.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, here we, discussion on fire rating. All in favor? Aye. Next, public comment. Barry, you want to-
I'm here on behalf of the Chester County Library for 50 Arts Parkway. I'm in the Henrietta Branch Library, just down here in Chester Spring. And just to give a few brief updates on the library, I won't take too much of your time. But just to let everybody know, September is Library Card Sign-Up Month. So if you don't already have a card, or someone you know doesn't already have a card, anytime is a great time to come sign up for a library card, but September may be an especially great time. You can sign up in person or through the Chester County Library system app. You can also do it that way as well. And then lastly, both the Chester County Library and the Henrietta Branch are seeking to expand our maker spaces. Currently, those maker spaces have 3D printers, a digital video converter, recording equipment, a bookbinding machine, a sewing machine, virtual reality equipment, and much more. And just as an example of what you can do now, we have some little 3D printed book holders, like our director's business.
Wow.
I'll leave this for you if you need more. I don't really have enough for everyone, so if you need more, I'll be in touch. I think I can.
That's incredible.
But I'm here tonight also to say that we're currently seeking community suggestions for new equipment and accessibility features. So if anyone would like to participate in a focus group about the makerspace expansions, you can contact our director, Mary Gadsden. Her business card is here for the supervisors, and her contact information is also available on our website. If you don't find it easily, just reach out and anyone can kind of put you in touch if you would be interested in being part of that focus group. But thank you for listening. We hope you see you at the library in September to get a card if you don't already have one, or just stop by and see what's going on with our resources.
When did I know?
I know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next item.
I went to the library a couple years ago and I handed them my library card. Apparently I hadn't used it in a while. So after we looked at it last and pointed, they issued me a new one. So I'm now up to date. I think that was like 4 years ago, so I have to check in on that. Couple of questions. When my good friend John Eldridge was addressing the treasurer's report, he made a comment about negative interest. And John, you didn't answer that question. Is there a reason why?
I will have an answer for you next month. I don't have an answer for you now.
Oh, okay. Just wondering about that. TDRs, over here is where these TDRs are, which is R3. What is the acreage on a TDR in R3? Does anybody know that, Sarah? You're pretty much up to date on that.
There's no such thing.
Okay, so in the calculations for that piece of property,
It's done individually by properties, by a skilled engineer who reviews the land, comes up with the adjusted tract acreage, does whatever subtractions are required by our TDR worksheet, which is in our ordinance. And he will give us his assessment of the number of TDRs. So there's no equivalent, there's no, this many acres, this many TDRs.
okay. And the last thing is, when did the rate of TDR payment jump from 25 was it? 25.7 to 32 and change?
2022.
It went up?
Couple months ago.
Okay.
And we had not purchased any TDRs in 5 years, so it was time to recognize the
Okay.
change.
I was just wondering why it jumped up. I wasn't aware and I must have missed it. So that's all I got. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick.
Anyone else? Seeing none, Kevin, sorry.
And I want to add something to the TDR issue. The ordinance very clearly said TDRs are fair market value. And so when I got my TDR display sent out to Brian O'Donnell Associates to get fair market value TDRs, which came in at $59,000, and which he explained in his narrative they doubled in recent years. And so there's certain parts of that ordinance that I disagree with, but I'm required to stay with that. But the part about fair market value, apparently the township is not required to stay with that. So I'm trying to get some information on that somewhere. I had no.
And what the law says is that we can't pay more than fair market value. Right?
More than that.
We set a rate, but how it relates to fair market value is we can't pay more than that.
I saw it said fair market value, there are no words like more or less or about. I think it said fair market value.
You're now talking about the appraisal that you read. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about our policy.
You're talking about your what?
Policy. POLICY.
Okay. Well, there can't be a policy contrary to an ordinance, can there? Or can I have that right also?
John, you were on the land trust for how many years? I bet you still are.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll, for a motion to adjourn.
I put my microphone on, I so move.
Second, all in favor? Aye. So, adjourn. Thank you.